Hey, good morning. Welcome to episode number 7. Seven's heaven. Hey, in the last episode I was talking about education. We went to that great library in Cerritos. That's an incredible library. But anyways, one of the things I was talking about is raising kids, and since I'm telling my own story, I want to talk about the education that I got as I was growing up. Remember, my parents wouldn't send me to a public school. They sent me to a Christian school. They sent me to a school of what they thought was higher learning. See, Christian wasn't just a school that had Christian standards, it had higher education standards. And there, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a real lot. But then, as teenagers do, I kind of became a little teenager and rebelled. I was upset with life because at school, growing up, I learned all these good things. But then when I came home in the neighborhood, I had all these bad things that I just grabbed hold of. And I loved grabbing hold of those bad things. And they were easier to grab hold of because there was no standard at home. My parents kind of just let me do what I wanted. So finally, in my junior year, they brought me to this school, Brea High School. And when I came to this school, their education here was, and their teaching standards were so poor. I mean, so poor. I became bored. In fact, I became so bored, I only did what I had to do to get by and to get out of here, which meant I missed a lot of school, but still made it work somehow. I don't know. They just don't let kids, nowadays they don't want kids to achieve for some reason. I don't know what it is. They've dumbed down the curriculum. I've been looking at some of the high school curriculum now, and it's really dumbed down. But before
through here.
Oh yeah, right here, just passing.
This school, not all schools. This way.
Yeah. But anyways, before we're not going to go off on railing on schools or lecture on where you should send your kids. I'm just going to talk a little about the education I got, and we're going to go somewhere that kind of is going to talk about it. And throughout the day, we're going to talk a little bit about what good education is and what good education isn't. We're going to talk about things kids should learn and things kids shouldn't learn. I mean, kids need to be our focus. They're our future. They're our world. So, honey, hold on.
Okay. Ouch.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh my
Ready?
gosh.
There we go. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Look at this thing. It's got a face that only a mother could love. An ugly mother. An ugly, very ugly mother. Oh man, I haven't been to this place for, well, since I was a little kid. And boy, do I got a lot to say about it. Where does that go? No, I gotta see this. This is bizarre looking. Okay, it's an elevator. Oh, it just goes down one floor. Oh, okay. Got it. Look at the size of this palm tree.
Oh, wow.
It's not, look at the base of that palm tree. Look how big it is.
It's huge.
Oh, and there's the lift. Okay, it just goes down.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we're up on top of everybody else right now.
When it goes down, it looks really cool.
Oh, I've always wanted to see the sculpture up here. Okay, there's been an attraction here in Southern California that I've wanted to see for a long time, but I've never gotten over here. Well, because I haven't come back to the Brea Tar Pits. But you should see what I'm looking at. This is really cool. And in the beginning, God said, let there be light. And Los Angeles said, let's turn on the switch. So this is urban light. And that's what this sculpture is called, urban light. Now the reason why I came to La Brea Tar Pits is because when I was a child going to school at that private school, I want to share with you about how they taught us. They just didn't teach us the Bible point of view. They taught us about everybody's point of view. When they brought us down here, they wanted to teach us what evolutionists thought, and not only just what they thought, but they wanted us to experience their point of view. So they brought us here. And in the 60s, the La Brea Tar Pits was being overtaken by a lot of humanist thinking. And colleges were starting to only teach evolution and discount creation. So they brought us here, and we got to go on a lot of the digs and actually be there talking to geologists who were evolutionists at the time. Since then, evolution has been shot in the foot. I mean, there are so many cases against it, there's no good reason to even support it anymore. See, it's nice to think, oh yeah, a little protoplasm came, jumped out of the water, hit land, became an amoeba, or became something else, became something else, became something else. They scratched their armpits, they went ooh, 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 and then all of a sudden they came out with a Webster's dictionary and started teaching everybody how to speak different languages. Yeah, right? Can you see a little bit of logic discombobulation there? Yeah, we didn't just pop out. In fact, if that's true, the chromosomes of this African frog I once studied are more complex than ours. That's right. So if evolution's true, guess which way we're going? Like flies? Now, what are these tar pits? Oh, they made a big thing out of them. Ooh, this is a big tar pit. It's the only tar pit in the world. No, it's not. I worked in the oil industry. I worked around California crude oil all the time. All that is out here, and all these animals got stuck in, was crude oil that was up near the surface. And throughout California, there is crude oil. Crude oil's been found everywhere. And that's all the La Brea Tar Pits were. It was a place where the animals came to drink, and as they would come, they would drink the water, and then they would fall into the water. Now, the unique thing about the La Brea Tar Pits is that they have found fully preserved skeletal remains of all these animals. And it turns out there were more species than there are now. In fact, the bones, when they sink down into the oil sinks down into their bones, and it crystallizes them and preserves them. So though California was just filled at one time with all kinds of animals, the only carcasses that we have preserved are right here that fell into the oil at the La Brea Tar Pits. And they have found more species of animals that some that we didn't even know existed. Woolly mammoths. That's right. A bunch of them. As I approached this tar pit out here, I could smell the crude oil. It smells like I'm back at work. I used to get this on my hands. I used to work with it. I know everything about the chemical structure of the oil that's coming out of here. In fact, I have an advanced knowledge out of it. See, one thing that when I did start working and started a family, I found out that I can really absorb knowledge like you wouldn't believe. The only problem is retaining it over a long period of time. So I made the statement in one of my videos that you can learn a lot in life, but you could also forget a lot in life. And that's the way you have to do with a lot of subjects. Now, when I studied evolution and got into it, I didn't just study it in school. I took everything I was learned there, and I did an advanced study of my own. I got in and I studied the North American continent and what happened to the North American continent and why all those species aren't here anymore. But yeah, I'm walking up on the tar pit right now. Man, you should, it's just, it looks like a big oil spill. You know, I dealt with that all the time. In fact, one of my expertises, I covered the emergency response of everything west of the Rockies for ExxonMobil. That was one of my duties. I used to write all the manuals, meet with the state agencies, meet with the environmental agencies, and we did everything we could with that stuff right there, that nasty, nasty crude oil. Now, one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because there's too much in life that you are handed and told is a certain way, and it's really not that way at all. Like the exaggerations they made around the tar pits and the way they used them in the 60s to sponsor a rush of evolution that swept through our universities, and it started a lot of evolutionary debate. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not one of those people, or we're not one of those people that just take things at face value. No, we've got to know the truth. We got to know what's real. We're not going to stake our salvation and our future on lies. So we're going to get in, we're going to study, we're going to look to make sure that what we're telling ourselves and what we're telling others is right. We know that God's word is true because of the amount of evidence that is found. Historic evidence. They want to take this little historic evidence right here and build it into a big evolutionary scheme. However, we can take archaeological evidence and back up the Bible in so many ways. In fact, it was the Bible that told us that the world was round and not flat. It told us more things than you would believe. It's told us things that were going to happen in the future and are happening right now. So if we're wrong about our beliefs and our faith, when we die, we've lost nothing. But if those who decided that the Bible wasn't true are wrong, they've lost everything. The promise to us is eternal life through Jesus Christ. I want to live forever. I don't want to just spend 80, 85 years on this crude oil soaked planet and then later find out that, well, that would be hell, wouldn't it? No thanks. Okay, this is what we were looking at when we spun into here. This is the big sloths that they found here. And the thing is they didn't just find a couple of these, they found multitudes of the different skeletal artifacts. Well, they gave this one a special name, antique bison. It's just a buffalo. You ever seen a buffalo's back? Look at that up there.
Whew. There was only 159 of the animals.
Yeah, they found camels here too. It doesn't say how many they found here, or found. And there you go, there's a big woolly mammoth. What's that next to it? The mastodon. Just that name. Isn't that name awesome? Mastodon. How would you like somebody to make a nickname of you? Mastodon. Oh yeah, you can call me that. No, I'm the Luinator. Whoa, look at that. You won't believe what I'm looking at. Even though I've seen this when I was a kid, I don't remember it this. Holy smoke. Look at this. Look at the mammoth size of that. The sign says that this mastodon is just a medium-sized one. Holy smoke! And look at the tails on it. Look at the size of those feet. And they found quite a few mastodons here. Now, that's the little tiny animatronic, but could you imagine being up against one of these things? You could always grab it by the horns and kind of hold it, I guess, as it threw you around. Whew. Now, the Brea Tar Pits is an active dig on site, and they're still pulling fossils out of here. It's the only place in North America that you're going to find fully preserved fossils because of the way the oil has gotten in and hardened these bones. But they've got to take each fragment and clean each piece and assemble it together to make the jawbones and the full-on skeletal figures. Look at the size of that Colombian mammoth tusk. Now, just like everywhere in North America and everywhere around the world before humans started to populate it, there was jungle, there was animals, it was an open range. Now, you got to go back to the Ice Age and think about the big North American ice sheet that used to cover North America. And here's the biggest problem I find with evolutionists and people that want to take evolution. They go, when we were here the first time, when I was younger, they were telling us millions and millions and millions of years old. That these animals are millions of years old. Well, that's not necessarily true. And they took that, they were using radiocarbon dating back then. And radiocarbon dating, it was proven so wrong. In fact, now they're finding out that most of these animals' skeletons are only about 10,000 years old, which means something happened to the North American continent that brought it all down, that made it all go away, that killed so many species. And you could see evidence of that around California. There's a mile-wide crater where a big meteoroid came down and hit the North American continent and triggered volcanic reactions and earthquakes, and that was no doubt when the North American ice sheet melted. And when it melted, it allowed animals to just propagate and their kingdom was huge. But at one time, North America was a fertile plain and just teemed with wildlife. And I think we want to stretch things and make things a little wilder than they are. You know, like those right here, they're showing, you know, a carnivore chowing down. Those big woolly mammoths, those were herbivores. They didn't. And most of the animals here are herbivores or the carnivores that just, it's the food chain. And the food chain used to be bigger. Now, what happened to all those species? Were they lost all in one day? Was there a big, was there something big that happened in Southern California other than it being filled with people? Yeah, there was. There was a lot of geological things happening. Now, think about it. An ice sheet doesn't just melt. You know, we think about ice melting little by little, trickle, trickle, trickle. No. Think about a cataclysmic event where all the ice melts at one time, all the oceans flood, huge tidal waves come in. You could go throughout Southern California and throughout North America, and you will find that the strata, where you think the newest dirt would be on top and the oldest dirt on the bottom, no. It's not that way at all. In fact, you find younger layers of dirt down below older layers of dirt. And people go, I don't know how that happened. Well, it's easy. This whole North America was moving. There were big volcanoes up and down the coast. There were big, large earthquakes. There were big tsunamis. And all of North America was influenced and changed by this. So, yeah, we lost a couple species along the way. Yeah, we're still losing more every single day. And it's just our Earth. It's getting old, it's wearing out, and it's not gonna stay the same. And this is the thing that kind of gets me about the whole thing, is this is what the La Brea area looked like before the tar pits. Well, when the tar, they were digging for oil. They found skeletal remains, they brought in some scientists. It was a great find. But still, we kept on drilling for oil, and we'll continue to drill for oil. And that tar out there is nothing but oil, and it's not unique, it's just happened. But the unique things are the amount of skeletal remains found. We're talking not just a few of each species, we're talking hundreds of each species. They are stacked on top of each other here. And one can only guess what actually happened thousands of years ago to cause all these animals to pile up in one area. Now, though they found the big, huge skeletal remains, they found a lot of normal stuff too, you know, but unique stuff nonetheless, like the fork longhorn antelope. Bison, buffalo, horses, deer, jackalopes. No jackalopes. And they found a lot of birds. A whole lot of birds. Yeah, the other thing that they found here that just wasn't something that I would expect was camels. You know, what you see in the Middle East? Yeah, it turns out North America had a lot of camels.
Go ahead.
27 Columbia mammoths got stuck in this small pit. The bones were all jumbled up. Okay, this is the way they do it here. They dig it up, they put it in crates, pack up the crates, haul them out of here, and go study them somewhere else. They used to do it right here, and you had a lot of paleontologists that were here, and we were able to talk with them. So all of this area right here is a big pit, a big dig area. They've been digging it on it since the 50s. Okay, let's go into the big one. This is 91. They even got a polar bear in here. There it is, a bunch of crude oil. The thing that amazes me, honey, is there's no hydrogen sulfide detectors. That should be a mandatory thing when working around crude oil, because not only those bubbles down there in that oil, not only is that's methane coming up, but along with the methane also comes up hydrogen sulfide gas. And that's what gives crude oil its smell like rotten eggs, like sulfur. And at 8 parts per million, it snuffs out your ability to smell it. Here's some pictures of our modern paleontologists. See the sea snails? Funny thing about sea snails, now let's go back to what I was saying about the North America landmass and the big ice sheet and the way it was, that we really don't have any clue of what happened or why it was that way. But California was pretty much underwater. And when you go out into our deserts, which have pushed up and above sea level elevation, you can go out there and you'll find shells and you find trilobites and what is now desert used to be teeming jungles, but now it's all civilized until the next big incident. Currently, right now, there's a big Hurricane Irma bearing down on Florida and going to give them a good taste of what real weather's like. And our Earth has gone under great cataclysmic changes and always will. In fact, today's peace is tomorrow's disaster almost in every part of the world. It could come out of nowhere and take you out. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, was to just see the Brea Tar Pits again. Look at all these bones. See, the big thing I wanted to see is to see how the evolutionists, if they were still embedded in here, and they're not. In fact, I didn't see one mention of evolution. I didn't see one mention. Ooh. I felt that one come over my head. You see it? There was not one mention of evolution. There was not one mention of us coming from monkeys. All of that crap's been taken out of here, because you know what? That is crap. Like I said, it takes more faith to believe in that than to believe in anything else. So this is as far as I want to go today. I may throw some extra video in. We're actually heading over to a pretty cool place not too far from here called the Grove. We're gonna go hang out for the day, but I'm gonna drop you here because this is well, this is as far as we're gonna go. Brea Tar Pits over, the conversation on evolution's over. There's one thing I haven't finished on, and that's education. Let's talk about education. Education is one of those things, is you're kind of at the mercy of the educational community. Those who call themselves or think of themselves as experts, professors, teachers of higher education. The bad thing about our whole educational system is it could be bought. It could be bought, and point of views are placed into it. People's minds are changed, the public's opinions change. The biggest thing that we're having problems with in the United States is professors that are teaching an antisocial behavior to the rise of groups like Antifa. And that stuff's got to end. But that comes through a purging of the educational system. If you've got bad teachers going in, you've got bad curriculum being chosen, you got bad education, and you're going to have to suffer with whatever that education is. If you tell your kids that they came from monkeys, well, guess what? They're going to grow up like a bunch of apes. If you teach them that they're God's special interest and that they're special to God, that's going to change too. But you can't just teach them one side of religion and not teach the other side. That's what they did here. They brought me here. I stood over at Site 91, and as a little kid, I argued with an evolutionist, and we had quite a big debate. And they brought us here especially for that, so they would challenge us and give us a point of view that we didn't even we've never thought of. We never thought of that we came from monkeys. Doggone, we were barely part that we found you in the Cabbage Patch part. So anyways, Hey, come on. We gotta spin out of here. Let's get out of here. Okay, come on. Let's get out of here. Bye! Whoa! We made it. All right, we're here. Now, if you followed us all the way to this point, then I already told you, we're done. But I'll just throw in an extra footage. You could go with us into farmer's market in the mall. No talking, no nothing. Just have fun. See ya. Peace.
Right across the way, okay?
Sure.
Cinnamon rolls. Okay. Thank you.
No. So what'd you get?
Not food, but $5. Thank you so much. Piece of peanut butter cookie?
Nope. Okay, I got a silly story that I want to tell. See this? See the windows right here, and see this building right here? That used to be Abercrombie Fitch. And one day we came out here to the this is the world famous Grove of Los Angeles. But anyways, we came here, and full size in that window was my son's face. And then you go in the store, every photo in the place was all him from a shoot that Bruce Weber did with him. And yeah, he was the Abercrombie star that month, or that season. And every store and throughout the world had Chris and his Abercrombie pictures throughout it. So it was a trip. We walk into the store and it's like, he's everywhere. And it's one of those things where when you see your son bigger than life, well, you know what, it's beyond words. And somewhere I took pictures, but I can't find the pictures. So, oh well. But yeah, his face was peering right down out of that window, the full size thing. And then every wall inside had full ceiling to floor murals of them.